Please welcome Kyle Daigle.
Hello, universe! I'm Kyle Daigle, and it's so good to be here with all of you. I'm a developer myself, a longtime hubber, and I'm now proud to be the Chief Operating Officer of GitHub. Thank you. This is my 9th GitHub universe, and I can say that I've seen a few things. I've seen us go from releasing pull requests to announcing the first version of GitHub Actions, and even the Arctic Code Vault, where we stored the world's code for 1,000 years. And now, we're in a moment where suddenly the impossible seems possible. And today, I want to start by sharing a story about just that. A few months ago, Thomas and I were discussing how awesome it would be if we could get attendees at Universe programmable badges. We did a trial run last year for a small number of folks, but we wanted to go bigger. The problem was there's no off-the-shelf solution to do what we wanted to do at the quality that we wanted to do it. So, like some of the best problems, we found a super smart hubber to help us make this dream a reality. We went to the incomparable Martin Woodward and team. He took his love of 3D printing, Raspberry Pis. I think the man owns more Raspberry Pis than anyone I know. And he set out to create a way to get over 1,000 of these badges in the hands of our all-access pass holders. How did he do it? Well, it wasn't his full-time project. He's running all of DevRel for GitHub and helping to prepare for this event too. But not only did he build a custom platform to enable this work, he made a custom flashing software. So during registration, the team could pull a badge from a bag, flash your information onto it, and hand it to you. He dreamt it, built it, and he showed it to me last week. And I asked him, I said, holy crap, Martin, this is amazing. How did you do it? And without a whiff of irony, he says honestly, Copilot. I could have never gotten this done without Copilot. In partnership with Martin's creativity, attention to detail, and immense talent, Copilot helped fill in the gaps, teaching him the parts about the different embedded technologies that he didn't know. And now, we all get to use and hack on these awesome badges. With AI, he went from a crazy idea to something achievable in just 2 months. And we're talking about physical hardware, which we all know is even harder to work with. Martin and team set out to make the impossible possible, and he had the help of an AI pair programmer along the way. Let's take a second and give Martin and team a huge round of applause. See, progress is doing small things and shipping them. Not perfect things, but ideas, projects, and features we're bold enough to cast out into the world. So think back to 2005 when Git was created. We were all already using Subversion or maybe CVS or something even older. But then we started using Git more and more open source projects started following Linux's lead and adopting Git. And now, Git is used by 93% of developers globally, and GitHub is used by more than 90% of the Fortune 100. In this era of GitHub, we've refounded ourselves on Copilot, in the same way we were founded on Git all those years ago. Now, while a lot has changed over the years, we've kept this spirit of shipping to learn with everything we do. It's a core value here at GitHub. We build something. We get it in the hands of developers, we see how they use it, adapt, change, and sometimes we just start over. But it's how Copilot could even come into existence in the first place. And with this approach, we found ourselves at the forefront of what's destined to be the greatest chapter yet, the age of AI. The first GPT model was released in 2018. 2 years ago, in 2021, GitHub started sharing our work on a new tool called Copilot. And last year, we shared Copilot with the world, and now developers have already adopted AI at scale. In a survey we ran earlier this year, 92% of developers said they're already using AI in their day-to-day work. And that number's almost certainly grown since then. What a miraculous adoption curve. Over the course of only 5 years, developers grappled with transformer models, brought their impact to the mainstream via LLMs, found new ways to embed it across developer workflows, and harnessed it to help you focus on what you love most, which is code. With Copilot, you're writing code over 55% faster. No more looking up functions and methods. No, you get to focus on the essence of being a developer. You get to spend more time solving the hard, creative problems, not the ones that you've already encountered. And perhaps, most importantly, you're spending time in the flow. Copilot can sometimes feel like it's just completing the thoughts in your head, getting down on paper an idea you've only just had. Or other times, Copilot chat can act more like that expert, non-judgmental, friendly developer that you can ask any time of the day or more frequently at night. This notion of being in the flow isn't an arbitrary concept. It's what enables you to do your best work and focus in a world that demands so much of you every single day, because we know developers aren't monolithic. Yes, you write code, but you also manage projects, work with other developers, schedule meetings, fix broken builds, give advice on deployment strategies. While coding is one of the most important things you do, let's face it, it's not all you do. Case in point, we asked 500 developers what they spend the most time doing on any given day. Anyone here think it's 100% coding? Of course not. You're writing tests, you're waiting on code reviews, you're chatting with colleagues about potential solutions, and only about 32% of your time is actually spent writing code. And so while Copilot is helping you work faster, helping you write code faster than ever before, and keeping you in the flow, what about all those other things you spend your time on? Are you in a flow state there too? Are you happy about asking, say, about an expense policy so you can know if the blue bottle coffee you're getting while visiting Universe is covered? Does it spark joy to open up 3 tools to monitor your deployment after you ship something? As the COO of GitHub, it's my responsibility to enable Hubbers to do their best work. So when I took this job, I set out to ask, how can we take what we've learned from using Copilot internally to both help developers at GitHub, but also to help every Hubber, no matter what their role is? What I'm saying is, it's not enough to operationalize AI in just one area of the business. To fully harness the potential of AI, we must pull it across all of our existing workflows, not just one. Because if we want to continue scaling the developer experience, we have to solve for coding and collaboration and all the other things developers spend their time doing. Developers are multifaceted, so our approach to AI adoption must also reflect this. So we should start by listening to them. As early adopters of AI, developers are bellwethers for innovation. While much of the world grappled with this technology and its use cases, you're already adopting them at scale and providing the world with a blueprint of what's possible. We've watched more generative AI projects emerge on our platform over the last several years. Between 2010 and 2018, we jumped from little to no AI projects to just under 10,000. We saw an increase of about 8,000 projects as we approached 2020. And then in 2022, there was a steady incline, and then boom, look at that. That's a hockey stick if I've ever seen one. In less than a year, we more than tripled the number of Gen AI projects on GitHub. Even just halfway through this past year, we saw over twice the amount of Gen AI projects in 2023 compared to all of 2022. And this is a global phenomenon. Developers all over the world are experimenting with AI in big numbers, building new applications with foundation models, and working with one another to build what's next. But it's not just about the number of projects on GitHub, it's the types of projects that we're seeing emerge. AI projects have progressed from more specialist-oriented work and research to more mainstream adoption, with developers increasingly using pre-trained foundation models and APIs to build Gen AI-powered applications. Now, when you look at these graphs and these projects, it can be easy to dismiss them and the speed at which they've been adopted as hype. But when you dig in deeper, you ask questions, it's easy to see that it's not just exciting. These projects are having an enormous impact on the day-to-day lives of developers. Just this past year alone, we saw developers add hundreds of AI-powered actions to the GitHub marketplace that do everything from code review to security checks. That shows how developers are already organically infusing AI across more of their workflows. It's remarkable, but it also gets to a central question that we've had over the last year. How are developers solving real problems with AI? And we've learned a lot in the process. Developers in enterprise settings work with an average of 21 other engineers on their projects, and they want collaboration to be a top metric in performance reviews over code quality. Experienced developers know that the power that collaboration can bring to their projects and their team. And what I found most interesting is that developers believe AI will actually help solve the collaboration problem. More than 4 out of 5 developers expect AI coding tools will make their team more collaborative. Just think about that for a second. More than 80% of developers think AI will improve developer collaboration. When we fielded this research, I expected the opposite. Maybe AI means more people can code on their own with Copilot and do more of their work independently, crank out those big ideas, put the pull request on a pile for review, walk away. But the opposite's proven to be true. Half of the developers we surveyed see AI removing the mundane tasks right away and leaving them able to focus on the higher order problems. What we're seeing with this first wave of AI tooling is that AI is quickly removing the tedious and repetitive work, and that makes sense. The first work to go is the work of making library upgrades, switching to the new array syntax in Ruby, and all those things that you love to hate when you're pulling your next GitHub issue to work on. But our research shows that the next step, the next wave in AI, is becoming a second brain. We're not talking the jump to the Industrial Revolution, but a jump to the information age in a course of just a few years, not several decades. And finally, where developers go, everyone follows. What you adopt, the world adopts. So it's absolutely no surprise that 70% of developers say AI coding tools are offering them major benefits at work, like improving code quality, faster outputs, fewer production-level incidents, and they're simply enjoying their work again in a way they haven't in a while. If implementing AI means increased productivity, collaboration, and innovation on engineering teams when they're writing code 32% of their time, there is an enormous incentive for organizations to bring AI to the other 2/3 of the developer's day and across their other teams too. Think about it. If customer teams find what they need faster, they can shorten response times. If IT teams can automate and triage frequently asked questions, they can focus on solving the bigger issues at hand. If you can get the answers you need, you can get back to what you're uniquely capable of. If we follow in the footsteps of developers, this incredible flow state they have achieved can be a reality for all teams. At GitHub, we always think developer first. That means thinking about what tools and processes developers thrive in. It means we use GitHub for so many of our own internal processes. Want to have a document reviewed by legal? Open an issue for that. Have an idea for some custom swag at Universe? Open an issue for that. Want to update our latest Octaverse report? You can open a pull request for that. In a lot of ways, everyone at GitHub and increasingly more and more people in the world are developers of some kind. Ship to learn, have a growth mindset, and take steps to work better together. Because our community of 100 million developers is powered by a little over 3,000 insanely talented hubbers. To sustain this incredible momentum and continue building what's next for developers, we must fully integrate the very technology that we've refounded ourselves on. We want to make hubbers' lives easier in the same way we make all of your lives easier, and of course, that starts with AI. So I'm excited to show you the various ways we're using AI across the GitHub business to not just get more done, but help all teams here at GitHub do their best work. I'll show you a few things that we've been working on, share some of the lessons we've learned, and while giving you a sneak peek at what's to come. Just like our community spans the world, so do our employees. Our geo-distributed team works async to bring the products and tools and features that you rely on to life. So let's say you're a hubber based here in San Francisco, managing projects for the GitHub CLI team. You're working to meet a critical ship date, and you need to get the band together to see it through. The only caveat is one person's based in New York, and the other is in the UK, and 2 more in France and Spain. Working remotely takes investment. And so we've looked at tools like Rewatch to help take our meetings and videos to the next level, thanks to their in-the-flow AI-powered functionality. Like most remote companies, we're always navigating time zones, but with tools like Rewatch, we can take a more thoughtful approach to collaboration. With the click of a button, we can record our meetings in Teams or Zoom and share them with everyone. The videos are uploaded automatically to Rewatch, and that's when the magic happens. I travel a fair bit for work, so sometimes I can miss internal meetings, but now I can go to Rewatch, find the key points via their summarization of the meeting, see key moments in the video and watch those in a high information density way. And in all of this is my favorite part, it can actually identify action items coming out of the meeting. The reason I find this so interesting isn't because transcribing videos is particularly novel, but because we upload all of our videos into Rewatch. And we get this increased time to answer by using Rewatch. I can upload my staff meetings, our internal company get-togethers, and you don't need to rewatch the entire meeting to understand what happened. And when I have employees in Australia and San Francisco and Berlin and Tokyo, there's no perfect time for a meeting. So this helps in what feels like a small way in a very big way. But with a new bit of functionality from the Rewatch team, we can go even a step further. So see these action items? Why not link them to a GitHub issue? You can choose an existing issue, or in our case, create a new issue, define the title, set the body, use the existing information, and what repository you'd like, and finally, who you'd like to assign it to. It'll create a new issue to help you coordinate your work all within your normal GitHub process and flow. Then, when you close out the GitHub issue when it's complete, the state will even sync itself to Rewatch. Now, you can have all of your action items in GitHub, and anyone who comes after can see the progress you've made right next to the video. Using AI like this automatically and in existing behavior is a great example of starting small. When it comes to AI, don't overthink it. Start small with existing workflows, measure the success, and then scale up to reap even greater rewards. We know that meeting notes are helpful, but it's just one of the many things that Hubbers do on any given day. Like you, they're making and receiving requests for IT. And we've found some ways to operationalize around that too. Using a bot to send reminders is already an effective method in the open source community. And it's something that we've done for years at GitHub with something we call Hubot, which you can see here. For a long time, we've known that people respond better to feedback from robots, particularly when they're telling people that they've done something wrong or badly. We've given feedback about code reviews, broken builds, and required fixes from Hubot for years, and now we're working to bring it into our IT workflows. At GitHub, every Hubbers interaction with our IT team actually begins with a chat, and as you can imagine, there are a ton. Instead of bringing in a help system as the way Hubbers had to interact with IT, we brought IT to where Hubbers were already asking their questions. And for us, that's in Slack. And it's a lot of questions and help requests, over 5,000 inquiries every quarter to be exact. That's an average of over 625 inquiries per IT team member per quarter. As COO, I get to lead our insanely talented IT team. And if I'm honest, this is not where I want them to spend all their time. We need them focused on our strategic efforts, bringing technologies to Hubbers to make it easier and faster to get their work done, to let them collaborate with each other, and of course, have the tools that they need to do their best work. Not responding to the same, how do I reset my two-factor authentication question again and again. And so, of course, the team saw the power of Copilot that it was providing to our developers and thought, we need this for our company processes and workflows. And after partnering with a company called MoveWorks, we now have a friendly neighborhood bot that can keep all Hubbers in the flow, and we call them Octobot. Powered by AI, Octobot now handles over 30% of these inquiries, ensuring that Hubbers found the right answer, and in some workflows, Octobot can even take actions on behalf of Hubbers across our systems. I'll show you that one in a second. With Octobot, we're able to give our IT support team 25 hours back every week. That comes out to each person getting over 3 hours back to do more meaningful work, like building the Rewatch integration I just talked about. IT's customer satisfaction score now stands at 98%. That's up 12% from where we began. That's not just a number. It's a reflection of the exceptional support our team is providing. Not only do we have Octobot solving these requests, but satisfaction is up along the way. Let me show you what this looks like in action. We'll start a conversation with Octobot in Slack. Let's say this time I'm a new hubber, it's my first week, and I need help with a few things, like how I should go about setting up my laptop. All the details I need are right here. I can click the link that applies to me, then I'm connected to our intranet for instructions. Now, we've found that linking to existing documentation, instead of generating new language from LLMs, as a slightly more immediately actionable behavior for hubbers. And they can rate the response and give valuable feedback at the end. Now that that's done, I also need to set up 1Password. Let's ask Octobot to help me with the setup instructions. It even understands if I mess up with a typo halfway. I see my prerequisites here, and now I can click out to further instructions. No need to ping anyone else, and I can get the answers I need fast and get it working on my computer easily. Now, let's say I've been here for like a month or two, and now I'm working with a customer who also uses Slack. It's easier to work with them in the same space, but I need to get them added. And now I have what I need to add the vendor for quicker collaboration. But we can also build out full workflows, starting with proactive reminders from Octobot. So I'm going to show you an early example. Every 4 years, hubbers get a new laptop refresh. It's something most people look forward to, but it's easy to forget and can be a manual process in many companies, done over email and including multiple people. At GitHub, it all starts with a simple Slack message telling me I'm eligible for a refresh. This is our version of starting small. We alert the hubber about their eligibility, and in the future, we can walk them through the workflow and choices of laptops, all within Slack using MoveWorks. I didn't have to wait on someone to reach out or hope that they'd remember. We reached out to them, kicked off a workflow, and I'm back in the flow and on to my next project. And we're not stopping there. We're bringing Octobot trained on our internal processes and handbook data to help answer questions about expense policies, travel policies, and this year, we even trained up to help answer hubbers' questions about GitHub Universe. This type of seamless interface where AI is already embedded into your workflow is what keeps not just your developers, but all the teams across GitHub focused. They don't need to shell out to another search tool. They just use the same behavior they're used to, asking someone for help in Slack. Everyone, the hubber and the team usually answering the questions, get to stay in the flow and do their best work. Focused on more strategic work, focused on staying in the flow, and focused on building and supporting the platforms, products, and features you love. My last demo here is a little bit more personal. Just a few weeks ago, I got a ping on a code base I developed here at GitHub over 10 years ago. And I assure you, I am no longer the right guy for the job. It was related to webhooks and our APIs, and it's something I'm still very passionate about, but I've lost touch a bit. I simply don't know what the fix needs to be. And on top of that, I'm jumping from meeting to meeting, answering messages from hubbers. This code needs to get fixed, but there's no time for me to dive in. When I talk to developers and customers, we often talk about how powerful Copilot is for junior developers, and our research has shown that to be true. But Copilot is also incredibly powerful for senior developers, particularly when they're dropped into a code base they're not as familiar with. Or in this case, the code base is 10 years old. So in this example, I'm using a repository that I built over 10 years ago called Hookable. Hookable is a small application that receives webhooks to make it easier to test something like GitHub's webhook system. I honestly can't even remember what the core parts of the application are since it's so old. So I'm going to start by asking Copilot Chat to explain the key parts of the project to me. Okay, so it's using Mongo Mapper, the hook delivery model, and ERB. Great. Next, I know the main issue is that the underlying data store is no longer supported where I'm hosting this, so I need to move it. This is still using MongoDB, and I need to move it to MySQL. It's been so long since I've worked on Mongo Mapper, so I'm going to ask GitHub Copilot Chat and see what it says. It can give me a step-by-step set of instructions about the changes I would need to make to go from Mongo Mapper to MySQL 2. Okay. Finally, further down in this demo, it looks like there's a method that's a little bit suspicious. Clearly not my best work. So I think that there's a method that does this in Rails or Ruby. I can never remember. So let me ask Copilot Chat inline about it. So I'll select the code, I'll trigger the inline editor, and I'll ask if this is the best way to do the code. OK. I always forget if the pluralize method is standard library, Ruby, or Rails, particularly if Ruby has gotten this in the standard library in the last few years. So let me follow up and ask about that. No, it is not. OK, so now I know all I have to do is import, is it action support, action view, and I can go on to cleaning up this method. Now, this is a simple example. But you can imagine this workflow with dropping into a Scala project that you're moving to Java, or a COBOL project that you're working to modernize, or, like I did here, just an older project in the language of your choice with the more modern equivalent. I spent barely a few minutes paging in the context of the repository and asking questions about it before I ever started coding. But I want to show you one more example of a developer who can show you how Copilot and Copilot Chat are working for her day-to-day in her role at Infosys.
I had this existing code, and I just had to implement a feature. So I was still processing it in my head. I was like, OK, this is the logic I want to do. These are the lines of code. And in the meanwhile, I thought, let me just give Copilot Chat a try. I gave a prompt. And the code I didn't even know I needed yet was already there on my screen. I was like, wow. When anyone imagines developers or a coder's system, it's always multiple windows open. So you can see a shift now where all of this is happening in one window. So all I have to do is I need to implement a piece of code. I ask Copilot Chat, so this is what I want to do. It gives me a response. And then I am like, OK, I don't know what this function is doing. I need some explanation for it. Again, Copilot Chat. I'm working with something new, so that I haven't really gone into it. Again, Copilot Chat. All of my smaller tasks, I can do all of it in one screen, which not only saves time, which makes it more efficient. So that way, I am more happy, satisfied by the end of the day, the code I produced.
What Copilot got so right was keeping developers in the flow and introducing as few new behaviors as possible. Sure, it'll help generate code for me, but I can ask a question like I would any developer. But it's at my speed, and I don't need to take the time of my team until we get to a real novel idea. This tool wasn't created with just one type of developer in mind. Whether you've been coding for 9 months or 9 years, Copilot can help us do so much more. I'd like to take a second to give a huge thank you to our IT teams and operation teams whose work I got to show off today. They're all watching remotely, keeping everything running for us while we're at Universe. Let's give them a big round of applause, too. Thank you, everybody. AI can help us all do more, achieve more, and ultimately at GitHub, that's our goal. We want to help the world accelerate human progress through developer collaboration. And that starts by enabling developers to do more satisfying work, more creative work, work that makes them happy. And with Copilot and some of the other tools I showed you today, we're well on our way at GitHub for Hubbers. And I believe you can have it too by following a few simple principles. First, start small, but start now. With so many opportunities to adopt AI tools right now, and every company under the sun suddenly being an AI company, it can feel like the best path is just to sit back and let it all play out. Or go into the fancy boardroom you have at work and come up with the council to plan for AI tool adoption across the enterprise for the next 5 years. This technology is evolving so fast, you need to start. Start small and measure, and adopt quickly the technologies that work for your team. I don't want to downplay that, particularly for some of our largest customers. There are compliance and regulatory obligations to meet. But I've seen some of the most complex industries adopt tools like Copilot and quickly, so I know it's possible. A recent study from IDC said for every dollar of investment into AI, there is a return of $3.5 on that investment. That's a hell of a return. The only people not experiencing the benefits are the people still planning to take advantage of it. Second, no one wants to use an AI tool that requires you to shell out to a new page, to a new app, or that only works by clicking an AI button. The best AI tools are in flow, where they're helping people while they're already doing what they normally do, like code in their IDE or asking for help within Slack. This is what fueled GitHub Copilot's fast adoption. It simply helped you while you were already doing something that you did every day, code. Then, developers are very used to asking a fellow dev, what's the method name to call that API? So chat also made total sense. And as you heard this morning, as we continue to bring AI through the entire GitHub platform, we're focused most on having AI help you do the work you're already doing. Finally, AI isn't just an amazing productivity tool. I think it's also our best shot at true learning on the job. And it's helping both junior developers and the most senior developers learn new skills and get comfortable with unfamiliar code bases quickly. Find AI tools that have compounding impact by building shared understanding and personal development while you're using them. Every big open source project or company has code that very few people know the ins and outs of. With tools like Copilot Chat and Rewatch Summarization, another dev can go in, ask questions about the code base, what life was like back in Ruby 2.6, and even find a video of me speaking about it in a team project, all impossibly faster than it would be if they had to learn all of that on their own. So start now. Keep it in the flow and focus on the compounding impact of learning. This momentum and productivity, and honestly joy, will compound over and over until the world is forced to pay attention. With each small step, we'll build a future where innovation has no bounds. Together, we'll make the world take notice, just as we did with Git, just as we're doing now with AI for everyone, and we'll accelerate humanity's progress together. Thank you so much.